Welcome to this week's Artist on Art. I am your host, Nada Milkovich. Golly lolly, folks. I'm so excited. I have two fantastic artists to talk with today. In fact, we're going to be talking with both of them for an entire hour. And it's such a pleasure. It's such a thrill, because I'm speaking with Beth Stephens today, UCSC art professor, and Annie Sprinkle, her partner and better half, both going both ways, of course. Annie Sprinkle. There's a lot of introduction that needs to be done with these people, and I hate to drone on and talk, but I just want everyone to really know who you two are before we get really into things. Beth Stephens has been a professor here 20 years, you say?
19
years, nearly 20 years. She's at the art department. She began as a sculptor, and then she's keeping her mouth shut. She's going to see how well I can do this, right? This is what you have to do in academia.
I think Nada does everything perfectly.
As she does as well. So Beth Stephens started out as a sculptor, got into performance art, got to be friendly with Annie Sprinkle, who was also doing performance art at the same time in the 80s, New York City.
I got very friendly.
You got very friendly. So friendly she had to marry her. But that took a couple decades to happen.
17 times.
Yeah, we have to talk about that. I mean, there's so much of their art that they've done both individually and collectively that we could really talk for days. And I've had the great pleasure of seeing both of you speak here on campus. There's many opportunities to see Annie and Beth. And one of those places you can go to is anniesprinkle.com.
No.
Where?
Org.
Like
orgasm. Don't go to com.
Yeah. But what do you guys still have Love Art Lab?
Well, the Love Art Lab's really an archival site now. The site to go to is sexecology.org. So it's where sexology and ecology meet. Sexecology.org, like orgasm.
So we want to go sexecology.org.
Oh, good.
Asm. And we're here to talk about a specific collaboration that the two beauties have done together, and it's the new movie that's about to make its West Coast premiere at tomorrow's Santa Cruz Film Festival, opening at the Del Mar at 7 p.m. That's Thursday, November 7th. Goodbye, Gauley Mountain, an Ecosexual Love Story. And this movie is a labor of love. It's taken years to happen, but quickly, as far as making films goes, Beth really pushed hard to get this out and into the film festival circuit, which you're doing now. You've had the pleasure to go to Toronto.
I've been to Vancouver and to Montreal,
and then you were just out at the East Coast, where you were in North Carolina?
Well, no, I was in West Virginia at the American Conservation Film Festival in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, and it was really fun.
So how many times have you shown this now? 4 times?
I think it's shown about 4 times. You know, we had a lot of premieres and sneak previews when we were trying to raise money for the film, but officially it's shown about 4 or 5 times. It's also shown in Mexico City at the National Cinema of Mexico.
That's right.
And in Museo Reina Sofia, which is Spain's best museum.
But it wasn't actually finished yet then.
Right. It was a preview.
It was a preview, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Annie Sprinkle, who's piping in, is, again, the partner of Beth Stephens. And Annie started out in the sex trade, or sex,
Trade.
What do you terrible word.
Industry.
In the world.
The golden era of porn movies.
That's right. And you were one of the first women producers of directors. And you produced your own on your own label.
I did a lot of mainstream stuff, but then transitioned into doing my own post-porn feminist kinds of films and art films.
Her first self-produced film was Deep Inside Annie Sprinkle, and it is well worth the watch.
Well, I directed it. I didn't produce it. That was a mainstream. But, I've been 40 years exploring sexuality through film. And of course, this new film, which is really Beth's baby, it's about ecosexuality, which also, besides her family history, and so it's an extension of the work I've been doing.
And you are also an advocate for sex workers today and continue to be a vocal advocate for women's rights concerning sexuality, pornography. You also became a performance artist while you were doing, I guess you're doing performance art when you're acting as well, of course.
Making porn, believe me, was performance art. It really was.
And so,
it was some of my best, actually.
and then your work got very feminist, which is a hard thing to wrap your mind around, how one goes from pornography, how you can straddle one seemingly incredibly chauvinistic, male gaze, industry into something that is empowering. Watching you become or show the power that you have.
I was really raised to be a political activist, and believe me, in 1973, just for women to be able to see a sex film was rare.
I think that's one of the most powerful things about what Annie has done is she's really reclaimed sexuality for women from a patriarchal culture. And of course, the reclamation's not complete at this point by any means, but certainly Annie Sprinkle has been in the forefront of empowering women around their own sexuality and saying, hey, we own this. Patriarch doesn't.
Well, if you don't like the porn that's out there, make some you do like, and that's what I'm tempted to do. But I haven't made porn movie or any movie in quite a while until Goodbye Gauley Mountain, an ecosexual love story. I kind of gave up filmmaking. It was so much work and money, and it truly is a labor of love.
But I dragged her back into it with this film,
and I'll follow her anywhere.
And so part of your, Annie Sprinkle, your career, your art practice, also involved getting your PhD in sexology, and you performed. You did performance pieces both on your own as well as collaboratively with Beth Stephens, and you guys together. Through your romance and marriage, have done so many pieces that are so intimate. It really is incredible. One of the ones I was thinking of specifically is when Annie had to go through the experience of having breast cancer, and the both of you embracing that and making art out of that. And really talk about turning a situation that can be very frightening and scary into art is so empowering in my mind. Is that how it felt to you too when you were doing that piece?
Well, it felt empowering, but it also felt very playful, not in a way that sex is like deep play. And in some ways, that's really what this film is about also. You could say that the mountains of Appalachia, as well as so many other ecosystems, are being they're being contaminated now with life-threatening illnesses. And I have I've compared mountaintop removal to cancer or to rape, and we are trying to stand with those mountains and help them either not get sicker or, in some wild imagination to even become better. And so the work that this movie, Goodbye Gauley Mountain, an Ecosexual Love Story, we're laying the same kind of love and performativity and playfulness on the environmental movement that we did when Annie suffered breast cancer. And yes, it's very scary, but if you approach things that are very scary with an open heart and a little bit of humor, then you can actually see different ways of engaging these things, and that's what we're really trying to posit for the environmental movement now.
You're listening to Beth Stephens. She's talking with me because I'm so lucky not a Milkovich. on Artist on Art. She's joined by the fabulous Annie Sprinkle here at KZSC. We're talking about Goodbye, Gauley Mountain, an ecosexual love story. I was also trying to talk a little bit about kind of the trajectories that both Beth and Annie have been on to this point, where we're now celebrating the completion and the broadcast of the festival, the broadcast within the film festival circuit of Goodbye, Gauley Mountain, an ecosexual love story. We are going to have to break down that word ecosexual quite a bit. And so before we do that, I want to just do a little more of an introduction. So you both have been doing art together. You did is it a 7-year, 8-year piece? 7-year piece that forms goes along the chakra. So each year was a different chakra.
That's why we're premiering the film on November 7th at 7 p.m. We like 7.
7 is a fabulous number. And so you did 7 years where you performed and married various entities and in various places around the world. So if anybody wasn't really sure what the heck is a chakra, they're probably younger and didn't live through the whole 90s. The chakra is
the new age.
It's a Hindu understanding of how the powers that are within the body and how the body works. And there are 7, starting with the root chakra at the very bottom, and it goes up to the top where you have your third eye, and it blows out the top with the color indigo. It follows the colors of the rainbows. Right, so the bottom color is red when you're on the rainbow spectrum, orange, yellow, green, blue,
purple,
and white.
And so that's what you did. Your weddings were themed around these colors, as well as perhaps what those colors mean. For instance, green being the earth.
It's very important to mention that the 7-year 7 chakra structure was from artist Linda Montano, who's one of our favorite artists and mentors. And we had already decided to do art that explored love, because we'd both done a lot of art that explored sexuality, and love seemed much more transgressive somehow.
Radically traditional.
Radically traditional. So the structure was Linda's, and we did do the 7 years, and within that time we did 17 big performance art weddings. We did several hundred tinier ones with in our Ecosex walking tours and with people in smaller groups. But we did one here in Santa Cruz, and Nada, you were a very important part of one of our weddings to the earth.
That's right. In 2008, that was 2008 when you had the green wedding here at UCSC in the Grove, where I think what the audience should learn a little bit more about there, if they're not completely up to date with your work, you open it up as a collaboration. So you make an invitation, you say, hey, I'm coming to town. Me and Annie, or me and Beth are getting married. We're inviting you to perform, be a part of the audience. We don't want any gifts.
No material gifts.
No material gifts, but if you have a talent that you would like to share, you're welcome to it. And so these weddings are as much as a part of the fabulous Linda Montano's system of the chakras, was also site-specific. And so wherever you went, the call-out was to those artists. So every one of your weddings had the flavor of where you went, as well as the flavor of what you were marrying. So for the earth, there was a lot of dirt involved. Right?
14 of the weddings were to earth entities: water, sky, air, rocks. Only 3 were not.
Well, it really all started here at Santa Cruz when we had the green wedding in 2008 at the Shakespeare Grove. And
this is Beth Stephens.
The green chakra it's the heart chakra. And so, you have the Harrison Studio who did a work called The Green Heart of Holland, right? Those things are related in ancient belief systems, which the chakra system's an ancient Hindu belief system. And so when we married the earth here at UC Santa Cruz, everything changed for us, and we took our vows very seriously. And many of the over 450 people that took those vows with us also took their vows to love, honor, and cherish the earth until death brings us closer together forever. They took those vows very seriously, and it changed our lives.
Mm-hmm. It was a major paradigm shift. By the way, some of the photos from the Green Wedding here on campus are in the film Goodbye Gauley Mountain. And when you get the DVD, we have extras which has clips of the Green Wedding.
Well, you recently did a fabulous little installation piece here at the Museum of Art and History where you stacked TV screens and you had a showing as if the chakras of the weddings in their various color forms going up the wall. That was a very interesting part of the exhibitions that you both did there when you did a bed-in a la John and Yoko Ono, where you slept in the Museum of Art and History here, didn't you?
Yes, we did. We slept with the Museum of Art and History. We love the Museum of Art and History.
We want to marry the Museum of Art and History. We love Nina Simon.
Oh, she's just great.
She let us all spend the night in the museum.
We were with a bunch of crazy musicians in a group called Thingamajigs, and we just made work for 17, 18 hours continuously.
It was a long endurance performance piece.
Well, part of our work was about resting, and we feel that contemporary life is just going by so quickly that no one really notices what's happening, and that's part of the reason that the environmental devastation that has been happening has been allowed to go unnoticed, because we're so busy we don't notice.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
We were always saying, God, wouldn't it be great if we could just spend 24 hours straight in bed and people would bring us food and we could just hang out and relax.
The only way we could do it was as an art piece at the Museum of Art and History.
Only if it was work. So we finally got our dream come true, and but we had to make it into work to do it.
Now, a lot of the performance artists that joined you during that, was a 3-day exhibition or installation? Was it 2 or 3?
It was 2 days.
2 days. Are from... Along with all the other things that Beth Stephens is doing, she's also in the final throes of getting her PhD from UC Davis in performance art.
Performance studies.
Performance studies.
Yes, and so many of the people that joined us at the Museum of Art and History were from that performance studies program. There was Nita Little, there was Dusk and Drum, there was Dylan Bowles in the Thingamajigs group, Zachary Watkins, who teaches here, was in that group. Students participated. It was really a wonderful performance art love fest. Yes.
So one of the things I wanted to just let everybody know, just to keep something in your mind, one of the people that performed was writing her thesis.
As a performance. We subscribe to life as art, and so we feel that anything we do is art. And so, that performance was really an indication of where that could go to. So yes, writing is a performance.
Right. I was thinking writing your thesis as a performance. Like, I got to go perform this weekend. I'm going to be in the museum writing my thesis. Like, what a great way to do it, I think. Anyways, so that's just one of the many, like, you've done so much work. You're both, like, running around all the time, working. It's incredible. Flying off all over the world, sometimes together, sometimes apart. But the beautiful thing is you actually live here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and you work here.
And we love the Santa Cruz Mountains. We love Santa Cruz.
Yeah, and Santa Cruz loves you.
Aww.
And, the film that's playing tomorrow in the Santa Cruz Film Festival, it's about the Appalachian Mountains, but it could very well be the same thing happen here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It's a kind of archetypal story, and everyone can relate to it. I mean, even the movie Avatar, for example, is about mining and the devastation that can cause, and the corruption and the greed. So I hope people will come out tomorrow to the Del Mar and come love up the mountains.
Yeah, let's give the details here really quickly. The Goodbye, Gauley Mountain, Gauley, Goodbye, Gauley Mountain.
It's called Galli because the French discovered it, so the Gauls.
Ah.
Yes.
An Ecosexual Love Story will be playing and premiering, the West Coast premiere, at the Santa Cruz Film Festival opening that's happening November 7th at 7 p.m. at the Del Mar Theater, which then will be accompanied by a fabulous party at the Museum of Art and History. So whenever that's over, if anybody listened last week, Beth Gummery was here, the director, or the board. She's the president of the board of directors for the Santa Cruz Film Festival. She told us all about it, and that movie and audio podcast is on artistonart.com if you wanted to go there. We're going to just take a few minutes and play a little music and keep on talking, maybe get some water here for Beth and Annie, and then we'll come back after a little music by Cesaria Evora. Please stay tuned and listen to these fabulous women.
Oh, you're fabulous,
Thanks,
Nada.